Temperagi.
Abdul,
Temperagi. Are you a follower of Jesus' teachings or Paul's teachings?
why are you suddenly asking that?
Huh. You don't dare to answer. Clearly you're not a follower of Jesus. You're a follower of Paul.
I am a follower of Jesus as preached by the apostles, including the apostle Paul.
Paul is a liar. He changed many of Jesus' teachings.
Hold on a second. You said, Paul is a liar. Have you ever actually read Paul's writings yourself? Or are you just repeating claims from others?
I don't need to read them. Everyone knows Paul is a liar, and he changed Jesus' teachings.
So, you're saying we shouldn't follow Paul's teachings, right?
Of course not.
Well then, why do you yourself follow Paul's teachings?
Huh? What do you mean?
Don't you know that the Islam you believe in now follows Paul's teachings?
You're slandering. How could Islam follow Paul's teachings?
There are at least 3 Islamic teachings that follow Paul's teachings.
Impossible. There's not a single Islamic teaching that follows Paul.
Okay, shall I prove it? Let's start with the first one. Let's talk about the headscarf. Long before Islam made the headscarf obligatory, Paul had already taught it in 1 Corinthians 11 verse 5 to 6. But every woman who prays or prophesies with her head uncovered dishonors her head. It is the same as having her head shaved. For if a woman does not cover her head, she might as well have her hair cut off. But if it is a disgrace for a woman to have her hair cut off, or her head shaved, then she should cover her head. In Jewish and Christian history, Paul was the first person to teach the obligation for women to wear a head covering. So the Islamic rule about wearing the headscarf follows Paul's teaching.
What? But the headscarf is a Middle Eastern cultural practice, not Paul's teaching.
True, women wearing head coverings is a Middle Eastern cultural custom. They may have worn it even before Paul. But Paul was the first proven figure to make the head covering a religious obligation for women. So, the obligation to wear a headscarf in Islam doesn't only follow Middle Eastern culture, it also follows Paul's religious teaching.
This is unbelievable. It's just a coincidence.
Let's look at the second piece of evidence. Long before Islam prohibited alcohol, Paul had already taught against it in Ephesians 5 verse 18. Do not get drunk on wine, which leads to debauchery. Instead, be filled with the Spirit.
But Islam prohibits alcohol because it's Allah's command, not because of Paul.
Of course, Islam prohibits alcohol because it's Allah's command. But historical facts show that long before the Quran prohibited alcohol, Paul had already prohibited it. So your God didn't oppose Paul's teachings. He actually followed them. This is the second piece of evidence that Islam follows Paul's teachings. Are you still going to say this is just a coincidence?
What's the third evidence?
The third piece of evidence is the foundation of Islamic faith found in the first part of the Shahada. Long before Muslims declared La ilaha illallah, Paul had already written it in 1 Corinthians 8 verse 4. So then, about eating food sacrificed to idols, we know that an idol is nothing at all in the world, and that there is no God but one. So, your first Shahada actually follows Paul's teaching.
The teaching of Tawhid has existed since the time of Prophet Abraham. Not from Paul.
Yes, it's possible that the teaching of Tawhid has existed since Abraham, but the specific phrase, there is no God but one God, first appears in Paul's writings. This kind of phrasing is not found in the Torah or in ancient writings before Paul. Paul was the first to formulate the statement, there is no God but one God. So every Muslim who recites La ilaha illallah is actually following Paul's teaching.
That's nonsense. How could Islam be following Paul's teachings?
Long before Islam existed, Paul had already set foot in Arabia and spread his teachings there. This is recorded in Galatians 1 verse 17. I did not go up to Jerusalem to see those who were apostles before I was, but I went into Arabia. Later, I returned to Damascus.
That's not possible. Paul is a liar.
How can you still say Paul is a liar when your own Quranic exegesis acknowledges that Paul was a messenger?
What? Quranic exegesis acknowledges Paul as a messenger?
Yes, the Quran in Surah 36 to 14 says, when we sent to them 2 messengers, and they denied both of them, so we strengthened them with a third, and they said, indeed, we are messengers to you. Check the tafsir, commentary, from the Ministry of Religion or Tafsir al-Qurtubi. Those 3 messengers were Yuhanna, Siamun, and Bulus. Yuhanna is the Arabic pronunciation of John, the disciple of Jesus. Siamun is the Arabic for Simon Peter, another disciple. And Bulus is the Arabic form of Paul. So, now we have proof that Paul was the first to proclaim there is no God but one God, that he spread his teachings to Arabia, and that Islamic tafsir acknowledges Paul as a messenger. Aren't you ashamed? You adopt Paul's teachings and then assassinate his character by calling him a liar?
Then why did Paul teach that there are 3 gods?
Who said Paul taught there are 3 gods? Didn't you just see that Paul taught there is no God but one God? You've never read Paul's writings. You are just echoing what others say. People who hate Paul for no reason.
But Paul taught that Jesus is God, the Father is God, and the Holy Spirit is God. That's 3 gods.
You say that because you don't understand Paul's teachings. I'll explain it to you. If you stop accusing Paul of being a liar, as long as you keep calling him a liar, there's no point in explaining his teachings to you because you won't be willing to listen. If you say we shouldn't follow Paul's teachings, then you might as well leave Islam because Islam also follows Paul's teachings. So, how about it? Will you keep saying Paul is a liar and that we shouldn't follow his teachings?
What should I do? If I say Paul isn't a deceiver, then I have to listen to his teachings. If I say we shouldn't follow Paul's teachings, then I shouldn't follow those parts of Islam that resemble his teachings. Why do I hate Paul without a reason?
Yang nagbawangan dari gabawan, kepalanya sungsang, otaknya diselangkang. Surganya cuma batang yang mencari lubang, selalu mimpi disayang oleh para dayang. Hidungnya belang, mulutnya lancang, suka menantang dengan muka garang. Tidak bisa menang kalau tidak curang, sering dapat uang menggunakan parang, tapi ngaku dagang di tanah abang. hutang untuk Nabi berperang. Suka barang beci semua orang, merampok para tukang yang bekerja di ladang, memperbudak bujang dan perempuan yang malang. Baju putih dia pasang lalu pergi ke simpang. Ibadahnya adalah nampang supaya dikira nyumbang. Dongeng dia pegang, sejarah dia buang. Pohon bawang yang sedang tegang, jangan kamu girang, jangan kamu senang. Tidak ada gamang, tidak ada bimbang. Gerakan kamu datang, disiksa sampai ke tulang. Di atas seutas ban kamu akan dipanggang sampai waktu yang panjang dan tidak terbilang. Hukumanmu seimbang dengan dosamu yang kadang jika kamu tidak pulang dari jalan pedang. Jadi tobatlah sekarang sebelum kesempatanmu melayang. Borak bawang yang sedang tegang, jangan kamu girang, jangan kamu senang. Tidak ada gamang, tidak ada bimbang. Gerakan kamu datang, disiksa sampai ke tulang. Di atas seutas ban kamu akan dipanggang sampai waktu yang panjang dan tidak terbilang. Hukumanmu seimbang dengan dosamu yang kadang jika kamu tidak pulang dari jalan pedang. Jadi tobatlah sekarang sebelum kesempatanmu melayang.